Hey guys, and welcome back to another live stream. And in this live stream, as it says in the title, we will be going through the SuperCoach trade targets for round 7, going through also all of you guys and your questions on all of SuperCoach, as well as just answering whether or not players are good enough trade targets, whether you should be trading out guys, and let's just jump into it. But before we jump into it, remember to like and subscribe if you are on YouTube, and let's jump into it. So if we go over here, and I should have waited a little bit there, but anyway, as you can see, I have on screen at the moment here the SuperCoach website. And let's go to, first of all, we'll go through the rookies, because if you actually look at the rookies for this week, it doesn't look the greatest in the long run. There is still guys on the bubble that are perfectly fine. We've obviously got some guys that are going to be stuck on the bubble, so we'll look at that as well. But anyway, so first guy, the most obvious guy I think this week in terms of rookies, or sort of not really rookie price, but more of the sort of guys that are really going to jump up in price quite quickly, is the likes of Matt Flynn. Minus 73 break even, 76 projected. Goes up 66k with that projected. We can run as many metrics as we can here, and they will pretty much all suggest that he is a massive buy. Averaging 116 for the year, but if he does go 100 for the next 3 weeks, gets up to 423k. We can actually probably look at this. Nathan Scoob. Here we go, and let's just find the FLYNN. That's the trainer, which we'll get into later, and the talk on that. Ned Long as well. We'll talk about Ned Long as well, I think. And do we have a FLYNN? Do we have a FLYNN? Here we go. This should be FLYNN's. So Flynn scoring 100, 338, 399.6, and then 426.4, and then 445.3 at round 10. And that lines up relatively much. So yeah, that looks pretty good there, and just shows how much cash generation he'll have. And by that point, 67 break even, there isn't going to be much more cash generation out of him. But to grab 180k in 4 weeks for a guy doing pretty well, I think is a really, really good cash generating asset, I guess, in SuperCoach. I think he will be a guy that you can basically jump off of fattened rookies for that. Guys that I'm looking at, if that is the case. Let's just quickly, I think I can go cash cows, and let's do projected season change. That's not what we're looking for really, is it? Sort by highest price, maybe that'll probably work. That's not going to work, is it? Okay, let's just see if we can do something other. I would have hoped that this would have worked, but it's not working. So if I can go to round 7 key stats, maybe that'll work. Projected, nope, we're not looking for that. We're trying to find the maybe the projections will give us what we want. Doesn't look like that will give us what we want. We are trying to not, all stats views probably going to give us our best chance. Maybe not that one either. Maybe round 6 summary. Maybe round 6 summary will be our best shot at the biggest price rises, but I can't seem to find it. So anyway, that is what it is there. And let's just go back to, I guess, the break evens, which I guess I just must have missed something there. But anyway, Matt Flynn, gonna be one of the bigger price rises out of them. I can probably actually just go to, you know what I can actually do? Coach's choice is probably the best way to show this, and then go ownership change, and then go lowest these guys. So league trainer, I don't think this is the right decision. Connor O'Sullivan is the type of guy I'd be looking at as well for Flynn to go out to. Humphreys as well, you save a little bit of cash there. Darcy's going to be injured for, even though he avoided surgery, should be out for, we expect, somewhere in, it's a TBC, but could be anywhere from like 6 to 15 weeks or something like that. Moraes, I understand this as well. His break even's pretty high. I'm looking at if I need to do an extra trade to get a sort of rookie on field or whatever, or just trade him out because of his break even. O'Sullivan falls under that same roof, I guess. And then you've got Max Hall as well, falling under, again, that same sort of maxing out his cash generation and needs to be moved on alongside Kako. And you've obviously got some guys injured there. But anyway, back to the break evens, and we'll try and smash through the rest of these. Durden scored 2 good games, but if you actually look at his role, it kind of is totally messed up that he should be scoring that well. So let's just go to SuperCoach here and go to Durden. Let's go to Corey Durden here. So as you can see with Durden, the 2 games he's played, he's averaged 94.5. I seriously don't expect that to continue, but he's got 91 and a 98. He did score a 92 when he played against West Coast, but then followed it up by a 26 against St Kilda and a 33 against Brisbane. And he's played North Melbourne and West Coast in the 2 games that he's actually played this year. And the only times he's actually gone above sort of that 65 range, I think, against North Melbourne. And then I did do 65 against GWS, and then he did do 82 against West Coast. I'm sensing a pattern here. And then Sydney and GWS, he went 75 and 76. So he has done it against teams, but it's not been that often that he's actually done it against the top teams, I guess. And then Hawthorn, when they were pretty poor, as well as Richmond in 2022, I think they were not the greatest then as well. So Corey Durden, don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to be that valuable, because I think he's going to have a bad game, and a poor game means that he will drop down. Well, his break even will regularize, and it won't be as good for cash generation. If we just say he's going to go 60s, then you'll see he gets his way up to about 280k, 290k by about the buys, and that's it. And I don't really like the look of that, so that's why I wouldn't be getting in Durden. Carroll, different story. He can go 60s and he suddenly just gains mash cash. If we look at this here, you'll see that if we go here and we go 65s for the likes of Carroll, who's gone 60 and 64, which 65 is basically on the money there. You'll see that he goes up to 153k and then 196k in the space of 2 weeks with just 65s, and then finds his way all the way up to 296, where he basically cuts off around almost the same time as Durden doing that as well. So just shows the difference in those two, coming from a really smaller break even, how Carroll will just generate cash so much quicker and basically make up that 100k on the likes of Corey Durden, who I think we put same scoring metric on. Brock hasn't played in a little while, but he will play eventually, and he'll be a guy that we can probably switch a defender that's cashed out to, even if he just is a red dot half the time. It'll be fine because he's a min price guy, so that's where you just are switching where your cash is actually on from the bench to on field. Effectively, Erasmus is a guy that got highlighted to me about 30-40 minutes ago, to be honest with you, just because of the injury list. And we're going to go AFL injury list as well here, and we're going to bring up the for Rio injury list, and then in general in later part of this live stream we will pick up the whole injury list and just go through it. But if we just go to Fremantle, where are they? Here they are. You'll see Will Brodie 1 week with a calf, Nat 5 to 7 with a hamstring, Luke Jackson 1 week, Odin Jones season, O'Driscoll 3 weeks away still, O'Meara TBC, Sturt 5 weeks, Patrick Voss has a 3-week suspension, Brandon, or is it 2 more weeks? Might be 2 more weeks. I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, Walker, 3 to 4 months with a shoulder, and then Walter, TBC. So Erasmus suddenly comes into the picture for some reason. Don't know why exactly. Well, I know exactly why, but he really shouldn't be, given the quality he's probably, you would say, produced. But at a minus 50 break even, if he can get 2, 3, 4 weeks on the park of just going 60s, suddenly he's 200, 210K, and he's looking good. If we just show you this right here, in the space of 3 weeks going 60s, I'll even bump this down to 50. 3 weeks going 50, he gets up to 210K, which is 100K made basically in 3 weeks. So just shows the power that and potential he has there, in my opinion. So that's why he's a guy, if he gets selected tomorrow night, a guy that I'd look at for potential into let's just check the AFL AFL.com as well. I just want to check, when do they play? As they play on the Friday night as well. So that's a really good time to actually, you can see that he's not sub by the time that all of the sort of teams, you start to lock in your trades. So that'll be a good one to potentially look at there. Now, on to the guys further down on the list here, if it ends up loading. So we have the likes of, if we go down here, Will White after 1 game. I don't really like the jumping on a guy after 1 game. Already in his one growth in his price cycle, I would say, in SuperCoach after 3 games. Don't really like that. Lucas Camparelli, we're just waiting and hoping that he gets another game, because if he does, he'll go up 20K, 30K very, very, very easily. And suddenly you're looking at some cash gen there. So we're just waiting and hoping that he can get some playing time, I guess. He's looked all right in the VFL. He hasn't looked outstanding. So we'll just have to wait and see there. Tunstall, I think, is a guy we can wait another week. I don't know his job security is the best, so I'd just be waiting another week, even though you've got Revel out for 3 to 4 weeks. So unless you think he's going to back it up with another 80 or so, I think you have the ability to wait a week. He's a defender, I believe, or a winger. So yeah, you'll have the ability to wait a week on the likes of James Tunstall, and then pick him up next week when he's 119K, hopefully has like a minus 60, minus 70 break even. And that's just the easiest swap there. Patton, not going to get into this one side, I wouldn't think. Fort, nope, doesn't look like it with McInerney back. Spargo, I just don't think he will generate enough cash generation or cash, I should say, in general, to be a viable option or when this finally loads for SuperCoach, because he's already priced at 150. He does go up a solid 30K with a 40, but if we look, if this will ever loads, which it's not liking, let's just try this again. If Spargo, what's he done this year? Because I haven't really been paying much attention. He's gone 33, minus 2, 46, and then 70. So that minus 2 is out of his system. And so if we just look at this and he goes, say, 45, not that. If he goes 45, he goes 31, 22, 6, 5, 3, 2, 2, 1, etc. Ends out at 224K. Is that really, really valuable? Or do you want to just go for another guy that's 30K cheaper and that has more than like 100K potential cash generation? I'd be looking more so the cheaper guys at this point in time. And let's get us back to the break-even guys. So we went through that. Ned Long, minus 26 break-even, 6 games, 311K. You're not bringing in for cash generation at this point. He's gone 96 in his previous game. I don't think he goes... He's gone, 114, 96. And so plays Essendon, that'll be a good game for him. I feel like he could potentially go another 90 or so. So he's definitely been one that's going to generate cash. If we look at another 90 here for him, he's going to probably make it to 400K, which, when he was at 263K, we probably should have noticed that. But then again, he did come on from the sub very, very early, I believe in... Was it back here or something, the Port Adelaide game? So yeah, he's definitely had up and down games. But for him to be averaging, 80 on the year or so? He's averaging 72 on the year, and non-sub, that would be like a, 5 games times 410. So he's averaging 82 non-sub. So he's still doing all right non-sub. But I just don't think he's the guy that you really should be looking for, as you can get someone that's going to go within 20 or 30 points of him for 200k cheaper. Aiden Johnson, probably not going to play anytime soon. Tom Cochran, a guy that I probably should have considered more than I did. He looked all right against the Swans. Nothing outstanding. He only went 37, but he beat out Cleary and others. So definitely a guy that we maybe missed a little bit, but a minus 23 break even is probably going to go up another 30k or so next week. If we have him scoring 40s, you'll see 26, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6, 5. So he gets all the way up to around about that 190k, which is about a 90k cash rise from what he started at. So yeah, definitely a guy that I think is an interesting sort of differential to a lot of the other guys. But then again, I just don't know if he's in a position to really put those big scores up. And then no one else he really, I don't think, is going to be on the bubble or relevant. I don't think this is probably the last week you can get Elijah Hewitt, as he's probably going to go 70-70 and then just be out of range. If we go here, let's just go to this. If he goes 70-70-70, he goes 33, 45, 22k, which that is 67. That's 100k in 3 weeks that he basically gains. And 100k would be absolutely huge. And then, yeah, so that's about it for the rookies that are on the bubble, or I would say irrelevant. If I just switch back to this screen and get a couple of these questions out of the way. So going trainer to Connor O'Sullivan, trainer and Connor O'Sullivan to Flynn and Carroll. What are your thoughts on boosting M Hall to Stewart? Would still have 27 trades left. So trainer, I don't think you need to trade unless you're thinking he's not going to score the 70 or 80 that he's probably projected to score when he's on field for team selected wise for tomorrow night's game. So he should be back. So he should be fine in the sort of long run of things, I would think. So yeah, that's where I would be trying to stay away from trading out trainer just yet if you still have him in your side. Especially because it turns around a lot quicker in SuperCoach than it does in Fantasy. So I wouldn't be necessarily trading trainer. If you could potentially do Hall and Connor O'Sullivan to Flynn and Carroll, that could be an option, just because that gets you the really good cash gen of Flynn and Carroll and gets you out of two guys that are really stalling in value there. Global says good day, and then Mark here as well. Carroll, a downgrade option in Fantasy. I actually haven't been looking at Fantasy at all this week, but I will do just a quick one here on the SuperCoach live stream. If I just check it on my thing here on my laptop, he has the third best break even at -4 of guys. They're all the Carlton dudes that we were talking about as well in SuperCoach as well, but -4, 314k probably. If he holds his spot over Cowan, which we'll wait and see tomorrow night if that is the case, then yeah, I would say he is probably the one that you should be looking at in Fantasy. And then we got Closey here, just getting in Flynn and Carroll, but could boost and get a Dale, but only would have 515. Would only have 515k, so can't get any of those higher mids. Maybe wait a week for Ando and Miller to drop. Looking for a pod. What you think? Flynn, Carroll, they're the obvious ones I think that a lot of people were going for. I'm basically tossing up just going Flynn or going Flynn and Carroll, depending on the job security of Carroll. We'll see on that. I've obviously mentioned that Cowan's coming back or near enough back. He's a test this week. So we'll jump into the injuries and the impact of injuries in just a second before we then jump back into the sort of top end primo guys to jump into. But yeah, you got that there. So yeah. But anyway, one thing has led to another. And let me just actually grab up a different screen here and add someone else to the live stream here. I hope he's actually on, and I hope we have his mic.
What's up? How's it going? I'm currently in the car, but I thought I would say hello. And how's everyone doing? How's chat going? It's been a good day.
Chat's it's working its way, I would say.
Good.
It's a slow grind.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just getting through a lot of discussion, obviously, on Flynn and Carroll as they're sort of the main two. Basically depends on Lockie Cowan in a way.
That's who I've brought in this week.
Yeah.
Lots of question marks over both of them. Obviously, Cowan for Carlton. If they bring him in, can they play both? What's going to happen? And then as well, Flynn said something very interesting this week, which was kind of disconcerting, was, we still don't know who the number one ruck of I was going to say Gold Coast, of West Coast is going to be.
West Coast, yeah.
So it's like, cool. If I haven't locked in the position, do I have one good week and then next week I'm sharing with BJ again, or what's going on, you know? So he's definitely got cash gen. He's got 98 and then the 144 from this week. But yeah, it could end up being I would hate to bring him in and then he hurt us, yeah. But at least you get you're probably going to get 100 out of him this week. So 100 cash gen out of him this week, hopefully.
Gets him to 340.
Yeah. In a perfect world, it becomes a keeper. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, in a perfect world, he gets to a keeper or round 12 when you can flip him to a bond or something like that.
Done. I mean, I'm happy. The plan was always to run a third ruck. So,
if
I can
have been
dodge Flynn, I never started him. Yeah, I never started Flynn. So if I can get him in at 270k, and then I'm happy. Yeah. So yeah, I wish I had not. It feels bad. I wish I had not got Zach Merritt last week, and then gone Hewitt instead of Gross. That would have set me a little bit more than what my current mid cash gen is basically non-existent. So same for a lot of people, I think, at the moment.
I feel like Gross could be sort of a 2 weeks in the best 22 and then a week sub to sort of manage him through the year, which will be the most annoying for cash generation. But he should still get up there a little bit.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about boosts is that when you don't have them, like myself at the moment, you can only make 2 changes. So you're more than likely just getting rid of one rookie and then bringing in another cash gen rookie. And that's kind of one of your trades done. So I think I'm okay in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm in the camp of just getting one of the sort of top end rookies that are basically finished straight to Flynn. And then that's almost just the one trade I'll do if Carroll is sort of stuffed with selections.
Yeah, it was for me, it was Henderson out because I kept him.
Somehow Henderson actually helped me.
Yeah.
Henderson getting dropped, I said it in my video, actually gave me 115 points.
Oh, there you go. The cash is great. Henderson out, Moraes out for Flynn and Carroll is currently the plan. But if Flynn's dropped, Carroll's dropped, I may have to bring Hewitt in. And then, I heard you talking about Erasmus, maybe grab Erasmus or someone else will pop up as a super cash cow that I'll need. So I just need that money, man.
We need that second wave now.
Yeah, 100%. and we've had it, which is the annoying thing. We've had it, but it's just been a case of it's all shit. Like Tunstall may not play. I've heard some people, as you were saying before, about what's his face, the Irishman Connor may coming back. Kadeem Coleman hopefully coming back.
May 2 weeks away, probably.
Yeah. Erasmus, like some people have said today, may come back and he plays a couple of games and then gets dropped. And then I don't trust any of these new Richmond players that might come in. And it feels like we're no longer going to get a
key defender. Great.
Yeah. Well, we're probably just not going to get another Murphy Reid or somebody that we hope can give us 200k, because you really need 200k. If you can make it, especially with us that have spent a lot of trades already, if you can make it so you're only doing one up, one down, for a player.
Yeah.
Like we can kind of get away with it if Trainer and Reed in the back line score okay, cool, we can go one up, one down. But you really need to try and do that as much as you can across every line, and currently I can't, which is really frustrating. So,
yeah, I kind of want to find a way to get to sort of that 110K in the salary left, because it means that you can kind of get those 180K, 190K guys and go one up, one down to. There's quite a few 450 to 500K guys that I'm looking at being like, I could catch the downward right at the like trough of them and really launch into them. Yeah,
100%. Over the next couple of weeks, it looks really, really juicy. Like you've got Dunkley, like
I think
a whole bunch of these midfielders, like Hewitt, like not Elijah Hewitt. The George Hewitt's probably unobtainable, but Dunkley, Sinclair, a lot of the Brisbane guys are going to drop in price. There's quite a few that are going to be sub 500K. Even Petrarca, if you don't have him yet, it's going to be around that mark too. So you'll be able to get these guys, and you'll do quite well. Be right back.
Yeah, I was just, But anyway, let's just jump back to this one here, and I guess that Big J will join us in a second. So anyway, so back to it. Yeah, obviously the FLYNN and the Carroll discussion, as we were just having with Big J there. It is about trying to get the best sort of job security based players in at the moment. So FLYNN and Carroll, they don't have the greatest job security. You've got other guys that don't really have good job security at all as well in the rookie line. And there's not many guys anyway on one. We're down to almost at a point now where in the first couple of weeks, you sort of have 6, 7, 8 guys on, say, 2 games or 1 game played that you can easily sort of, a couple will fall away. We're right now at a point where we've probably got 2 or 1 guy that are actually playing, that are on 2 games or 1 game played. So you're really hoping on those guys actually stepping it up and being really good on the candidates on the bubble at the moment. So that's why I just FLYNN and Carroll almost might be must-haves, but then also at the same time might be not must-haves. It's depending on your sort of risk profile in terms of players and how many players you have left, I guess, playing, how many green dots you have. If you're like me, let's just take me for an example, because I need to sort of phrase this better. For me, I've got Henderson not playing, Boyd's in and out, depending on Max King almost in a way. He could play this week, put it that way. So that's 2 guys that are red dotted. Cam Pirelli not playing at the moment. So that's a 3rd red dot. Then you got Hall not playing, 4 red dots. So I got 4 red dots. That's not the greatest, but it's not the worst that I've seen. And also Gross was a sub alongside, Gross was the only sub that I had. So that's 4 red dots there. Can I really take on the potential of one, FLYNN being a red dot potentially in the ruck position, in the flex position, which would be an automatic trade out if he was to turn into a red dot? Or is it Carroll in the defender position? Can probably cop it more in the defender position because I don't actually have a red dot there. And I can maneuver Stone around anyway a little bit more easily because of the defender forward status. So I could actually do it a lot easier in the defenders with Carroll. So that probably leans more to Carroll being a guy to go to rather than the likes of a just holding the trade, I think, and waiting. Erasmus as well on the bubble potentially playing. He's a lot more riskier, but he has shown that really top end scoring potential. And if he does get a run with it, especially if he doesn't have the sub role, we've seen him do it in the past where if we just go to career stats, you can see he's done a 126 as a high versus opponent. You can see 126, 65, 70, 72, 70, 80. So he's done top end scoring before. But he just needs to, just get back into the side, I guess, in general. So, that's what I would sort of, my long-winded way of going through the rookies, I guess, for SuperCoach. But anyway, now let's jump into the injuries, and just go through the sort of impacts of them here, and then I'll jump back to the questions as well. So Adelaide, a couple of tests, as well as Rochelle test could actually be a positive. So that's good, as we welcome the man Big J back, hopefully. Let's just see. No camera. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, what do you think on the impact of Rochelle for Adelaide, Big J?
Hopefully it gives a little bit more stability to a few of these players like Soligo and stuff, because I know originally at the start of the season there was a bit of a talk that, hey, he might end up getting a bit more of this mid-time or what's going to happen, but I think they'll probably plant him a bit more in that forward line, which means that, hey, Rankin might get a bit more mid-time, which is what we want. He's always good when he plays bulk mid-minutes and gets a sneaky goal, and then Soligo and stuff as well end up going okay. So, yeah, I think it'll be okay. Maybe even Jordan Dawson gets more of a reliable role too. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like the Adelaide CBAs is kind of hard to look at, because they do definitely one of the teams that switches a lot more outside of CBAs, definitely, like around the ground. So yeah, just looking at the CBAs at the moment, Crouch had 20% somehow, but then you also had Berry at 40%, and Dawson still sticking around the 80%, but it felt like Dawson was doing a lot more work forward and back outside of in general stoppages. So as you said, with Rochelle coming back, it should even out that sort of top four you would expect, with Rankin, Soligo, Crouch, Dawson getting the major I guess, right, sort of 60% plus roles. And that should, I think, in general, help out this Adelaide side, because Berry is some of the players that they have, as well as Berry being out for Peatling, should actually help them again. Peatling's gone to get this role, and then Rankin's just said, nah, and just almost solidified the role that we all thought Peatling was going to get at the start of the season.
They're very, very young as well. Like, people say, oh, they've got Dawson, they've got Peatling, like they're still a young team. So they very much play to their opponents and their opponents' strengths and try and nullify them while like doing their own kind of thing. So as you say, Jordan Dawson will go to somebody. Generally, they'll try and tag one or two players and things like that. So yeah, just kind of how a young team works, really.
Yep. Brisbane, as we said, they're that watches who goes into that halfback spot to partner Wilmot and Zorko. It looks like it's sort of Tunstall's spot for the next 2 weeks, which 2 weeks it feels like, well, 2 weeks it would be that he would get to 3 by then. And then you'd think he'd probably be potentially sub material, which you don't really want one game of cash generation than sub. So, I mean, it kind of is just a wait and see what they do with Kitty Coleman so that says 2 weeks, if they sort of feed him back through the VFL, which you'd hope would extend Tunstall's cash generation for a week or two. But yeah, I guess that's going to be one of the big watches in the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, if I was a Brisbane, just given how many injuries this guy's had, similar to a George Wardlaw coming back from his hamstring that he did in the preseason, right? Like, every time this guy goes on the park, he plays one game and then gets injured again. The fitness is definitely not there, and he needs to have a bulk run through the VFL before they get him on field. Like, they've got players to cover the position. It's not as if Zorko was injured or McInerney, the ruckman, or you know, that kind of type player where if they don't have him on field, then they're really struggling. But they can't afford really to put him straight on field and be like, oh, sorry, we've made you run in the heat or done 2 back-to-back 5-day games and now you've done your injury again. So it's not fair on the player, and, you know, better for us in Supercoach, I suppose. The good thing with Fagan, similar to a few of these other coaches, is if he generally doesn't drop kids if they're performing well. So maybe a Marshall or someone who was made the sub last week goes out and then Tunstall gets moved around a little bit, because his game last week was decent, right? I mean, he scored 88 Supercoach. He did what he needed to do on field. So, yeah, maybe they try and say, well, you're playing well, we'll keep you here, we'll shuffle things around, and then someone else will get the boot. So we'll see what happens. Because I think Archie's currently injured too, so there's another free spot in the field for players to move around.
Yeah. Carlton is just sort of, I mean, the only watch with Carlton is that, I guess Harry Mackay, I would say almost in general, as there's actually two. I just remembered Cowan and Mackay are the two watches here to see if they get named or not. Mackay, we want him to get named just because Pitnet, even though he had a horrific game in the VFL, getting beaten by North Melbourne's backup ruckman is not a good sign. But, I mean, it was a dual ruck, but he got beaten by, two second-year rucks, I think it is. So that wasn't a good outcome for him. And Lockie Cowan just in foot. Carroll's looked good. He's looked like one of the better couple of rookies that we've had recently. But if he goes down due to Cowan coming back, that would be Lewis a little annoying.
Right? Lewis Young played last week, yeah?
Yes. I think they went. Did they go with the smaller lineup last week? They might, because I think they like to go the sort of three talls, and obviously they had who was it? Kemp go down with that injury alongside Mackay in the same game, and then they had Lewis Young come back in. So
I think as long as Lewis Young keeps playing, they won't run Pitnet, because it's too many talls. Unfortunately for Pitnet, he just can't. He can't do anything else that's not rucking. Like I said this before, in my video, like a Flynn has now started to turn into Gorn a little bit, where he can run around and take intercepts and stuff. Pitnet is just like Rob. He just like rucks and then that's it. So he'll be an okay ruckman, but they need the mobility. So I think Young will come back or Young will keep playing. He's the one that covers Harry Mackay being injured. And then hopefully TDK just goes solo ruck with, maybe a Young or whoever else is a tall player doing that second ruck position. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah. They need, the funny thing is they need like a Peter Adams at this point, which he would be the perfect foil to TDK, because he can do that 30% ruck roll, but he can.
Well, Silvani
in the VFL.
So Silvani, he used to ruck and was playing forward, so as long as he wears the shin pad, like, he'll be all right to play a couple of games in that type of position. So they've got enough coverage. Their talls are okay. It's everybody else that's a bit shit. It's Carlton.
Yeah, it's all the experienced guys basically outside of the four midfielders that are doing horrifically.
Yeah, they just bomb it long.
Collingwood's actually pretty fit. They're not even, other than Darcy Moore being out for 1 week and Schultz, there's not anyone long term that I'm really looking at here just being like they're actually best 22 or anything. And Darcy Moore, they'll be fine. They'll beat Essendon this week, I feel like, and that'll beat that. And so there's not really any Houston returning. Do they have any rookies there?
I believe he comes back this week from the suspension.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. They don't even have any, from memory, any rookies that are really. I think Ed
Allen will get the chop. I think Allen will go out. Allen will go out. Houston will come in, and then they'll maneuver people around again.
They'll probably put some. Who are they going to put sub? Just looking here. They'll probably put one of their older guys sub. Probably. I don't think Long will. That would be rough to put him sub. But just looking at this, you're not going to put any of the. You're not even going to put like Bo McCreary or anything like that. Unless they put Lipinski sub, maybe. But he's been pretty good off the wing. So
it'll be someone that has like super high impact. Like, it will be someone that break glass second quarter, like second half, heading into the fourth quarter that they need like extra run. Like I wouldn't be surprised even if like a Will Hoskin-Elliott or someone ends up being the sub. You know, like just someone that can dominate, that can like offer something a little bit different. I would say like a Bobby Hill, but obviously Bobby Hill's not going to get dropped. So just like that type of super impact player would be perfect for them.
Yeah. I also wouldn't be surprised if they just try and manage a couple of guys through the next sort of 3-4 weeks, because
you don't manage the good players though. You don't manage the good old players on
more like
day.
It's more like the. Yeah, I could see it being a Myercheck, Hoskin-Elliott, or someone like that gets the sub. I don't think you put I don't think you'd put Pendles as the sub or anything like that, or Howe or anyone like that. But I could see that happening.
Maybe side bottom.
Chris could be sub on his game breaking and not get on or whatever, and it's still counting or something dumb, because that's the rules.
Yeah, that'd be great.
A day off, but his day off actually counts.
At least it's not like that in SuperCoach, where if the sub doesn't play, he scores a 0. Like that would suck.
Yeah.
Be like tanking cat.
I knew when with trainer with about 10 minutes to go when they pulled Samson Ryan, I was like, yep, there you go. That's the obvious one. And I thought he'd just play back, but you sort of knew when Samson Ryan came off that, yep, Nank, he rested the first half of the quarter. He'll be the one that just rucks out the game. So then we get to Essendon, and they up there with, I think it's Geelong and Sydney, that have a lot of best 22 guys out for, well, they have a couple of season enders, but then quite a lot of guys in the next couple of weeks. And this is why I think I jumped off Sardis a couple of weeks ago, was the fact that they were playing guys ahead of him, but they also had Caldwell coming back, and it's now, you've got, Dersmer's a test. You got other guys coming back like Langford, who, even though different position, Sardis, it's one less sort of way that he can sort of hide, I would say, in a way. So, yeah.
I think hopefully Sardis comes back. He's Joe went over it in the members live stream on Tuesday. Just the guy's getting 32 touches, 15 clearances, like all these other things, and they need the help in the midfield, especially like being such a marquee game. So those people that have held Sardis, if you don't like Matt Flynn, if you're not happy about him, maybe you can go like a Hewitt and Sardis and do quite well. Kai, I need to head off. Thank you very much for having me. It was great fun.
All good. Thanks for jumping on.
Monday. No dramas, fellas. Catch everyone back later. Bye.
See ya. But anyway, back we go to this. So yeah, Essendon will be obviously interesting, as Big J said, and Joe said. Sardis, I don't think he plays, and I actually in the Swans group chats and stuff like that considered what would his value be at the end of the season for trading for him for Sydney's sake, because Sydney need a ball winner like him that just racks up the ball. So he'll be great for SuperCoach and fantasy when he actually gets games, but Essendon aren't giving him games. They're giving older guys games, like Shields over him, etc. And Caldwell's 2 weeks to come back. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. If Sardis doesn't get a game this week, I don't expect him to play for a while, put it that way. And Parrish, TBC especially, we'll see how he goes there. Freo, we already talked about their injuries and the impact for Erasmus. So there's that. And then you got Geelong. Buse, he's got an injury. Tanner Bruin's got the injury or the personal issues as well. You've got the indefinite injury to, was that Kean Burke or something? I think he's Irish, so he's probably got some random name, random way of pronouncing that. Toby Conway's still TBC. Mitch Edwards still TBC as well. Guthrie, TBC. Jack Henry, 1 to 3 weeks, which helps out Connor O'Sullivan, but a lot of people are dropping Connor O'Sullivan anyway because he is basically at the end for his cash generation. Martin managed. Myers will have a 2-week concussion you'd expect. I think they play very, very soon in the they had the Monday game, and I think he's touch and go for the as we welcome another guy. We are getting everyone in. As we welcome, I guess, God in. And yeah, I want to ask you one question, God, to start it. What did you view on the Nash 4-week suspension for the hit on Myers?
Oh, geez, I haven't been up with my AFL news today. I haven't really been looking at much. But yeah, that's the first time I've heard of it. Oh, deserved. I reckon it was worse than the other incidents that got 3. So yeah, I think forward.
Once you saw that the Boss one was a no concussion and the Myers was almost out on his feet, that's when I went, it's 4 or 5. Which one is it going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone would have seen that live. I mean, Easter Monday or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty. When it happened, it was almost. I almost thought, gee, Geelong's he's that important to Geelong's system that they could just fumble here. Like he's extremely important to them. And what now he might not play for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, because they play the Monday, and is it 10 or 12 days that they get to recover, and that's push and go because of a Monday game.
And they got is it Friday night, Collingwood, the week after?
Let me just check. Here we go. Let's just go to fixtures and then adjust it for Geelong. And they played on the Monday, then they have Saturday against Collingwood. That's
12 days.
Like 12 days. That's basically nailing every single checklist for a concussion, I would think, just to get back. And that was a rough one. So that'll be very, very touch and go. And it could open up opportunities for another Geelong player to get on to like 1 or 2 games of SuperCoach and be on the bubble for the whole season, which would be almost even just as annoying as them not playing, I feel like. So I think that's the major injury news out of Geelong. It would have been interesting, I feel like, if it was a Jack Martin coming in, but obviously a TBC, because he's that older guy. They could he'd probably have more, I guess, better news at the selection table almost, in a way, being that more experienced guy. But I don't know who they bring in. They could even bring in just a midfielder or just play Paddy Dangerfield in a different role or whatever, even though he's one of the best players for Geelong as a full forward, undersized full forward.
Surprisingly.
And then, I know, right? See, he's like 36. What is it with these old 35 plus guys just deciding we're just going to be 25 years old this year with Pendle, Steele, Sidebottom.
Sidebottom's having his best year since 2016. So I don't know how you figure that, but there you go.
At least Leo Lombard's from a TBC now in the last couple of weeks to the 4 to 6. I feel like he's going to be a guy that is probably going to get eased back in through VFL for a couple of weeks and then sub. So he might be a little bit annoying for cash generation, I feel like, but he's definitely going to have a role over I would think even a Jake Rogers or someone like that he'd probably jump in for, but it'll be interesting to see when he comes back. But Gold Coast, they're not really SuperCoach relevant other than the top guys of like a Raul and Noah Anderson, to be honest. Tuke Miller, maybe if he I don't know what Tuke's forward percentage would be, because I don't think he picked up the forward DPP, but he could be one that sneaks it in round 12, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because it seems like he plays a little bit more forward than he hasn't done in previous years. GWS, Brett Daniels still a couple of weeks away. I don't see them really having too many guys come back. Leak had a good performance, so did Gruzeski. I think was on 4 goals, 4 disposals at one point in the VFL. So those guys turning up, but you'd expect Jesse Hogan just to come back in, and then no one really to come back for GWS or debut, I don't think. But knowing them, they probably have some random small forward that they'll also just debut sometime soon and get games into, because that's who they love to draft. Hawthorn, the interesting thing with Hawthorn now that Connor Nash is out. There's a guy that's awfully similar in characteristics to Connor Nash that had 35 touches and 12 clearances in the VFL in the name of Henry Huswaite. So that'll be interesting to see their team sheets because he's a guy that I think could impact straight away. We've seen it in the past. I think, was it 2 years ago now? I think he's third or fourth year in terms of being drafted. So he could be. What are your thoughts, I guess, Scott, in terms of who takes over that midfield slot with both Day and Nash out?
It's hard to say, really. Do they bring Finn McGuinness back in and flip a few things around and maybe get a tagger back in the side? I'm not too sure. They don't seem to really like the tag this year, so. But yeah, I mean, Ginnivan's got a straight back in, you would have thought, after 22 and 4. But yeah, I mean, probably Finn McGuinness or Henry Huswaite are the only real big ones out of midfielders per se. But yeah, apart from that, can't really think of anyone else.
Yep. Melbourne, May is is he a test or did they confirm that he's back? Because him being back alongside was it? Oh, they named their sides. That's on me. May and McVee are both back this week, which should definitely help the likes of Lindsay, which will be good. Even if he's on a wing, I feel like that's almost better than the lockdown role that he got because that was hard to watch Melbourne kick it round the back, not kick it to Lindsay, and then turn it over still 70 meters out from goal. And then Spargo's an interesting one because I was looking at it early in the stream with he had a sub -2 game or something like that, and he's at 140k. I just don't know if he has the sort of ability in the long run to put up back-to-back 70 games. Like he's got a 70, 46 and a 33.
What did he not play last year? Is that why he's so cheap?
Let's just see. What did he do
I know
last
he's
year?
never really had scoring. He's never really had scoring power, but
yeah, he played one game for a 36 last year, so we got massively discounted because he started 2023 at 308k, and then he started 2025 at 135.
Well, you'd think he's not going to be subbed this week.
No. Who even will be subbed for them?
I hope not.
Let's just check.
Oh my god.
No, surely not. Let's go to team lineups and just. I was able to maneuver him on the what was it, the Sunday night or whatever that they played. So yeah, I was able to maneuver to get him out. I think it'll be Sharp again, just looking at it here. Sharp was sub last week for them. I think he'll be sub, which Spargo could be quite a guy that they just go, yeah, just sub out because Chandler can play the sort of small forward role as well. So I think Spargo could be a guy that, even though he's not in the green vest, he could easily end up in the red vest, which would be almost just as bad.
Yeah, agreed.
And then, yeah, Melksham also a test, but I don't think he got named, did he? Because he had that, yeah, he had the cut to his leg that looked pretty bad, to be honest. North Melbourne, Zach Fisher out. This could help Sheasel a little bit, that instead of playing that sort of mid-forward, he goes to a mid-defender role a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see how they sort of line up. I do think that Wardlaw in the midfield should actually help out Sheasel a little bit, that they have someone that can actually run through a pack. And aside from that, I don't think anyone really put their hand up particularly. And I don't think they had any other injuries, unless they decide to go with Will Phillips had 23 and 10. And I saw some stats about him out of like a 25 game sample size of him playing and not playing. They win an extra 3 games. And I was like, you've won 7 games over that whole 50 games. No one cares if Will Phillips is in or not. Like, it doesn't make much of a difference for him. So I don't think he really should be in their midfield, but we'll wait and see tomorrow night with team selections.
The only positive if he's playing midfield, they got to change. They got to change something in their back line. I doubt Caleb Daniel gets dropped.
Yeah,
I don't know. They have to put.
Like,
I think they've got to put McKercher up.
Yeah,
forward on
McKercher's
the
doing
wing.
nothing at half forward. Like, he's having 5-10 touch games or whatever, like meaningful touch games. So it's just like they've turned him into a small forward when he was arguably the second best midfielder in his draft class.
Yeah, I think he's playing a bit of backline now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, their turnovers are not. Just
No,
looking here.
like,
Is it?
why don't they put Sheasel back there and move things around? Like, the backline wasn't near as bad as it is now when Sheasel was in there.
Yeah. I much rather, even in the Swans game, Sheasel went and it felt like he had more sort of starting off half back rather than half forward. And he came out and it wasn't an impactful game, but at least he had 34 touches, had like he had no marks on the weekend, had only like 10 kicks or something, didn't he? Something like that. Whereas the Swans game, I think he had like 20 kicks and 15 handballs alongside like 5 marks or something like that. And it was at least it was semi-impactful. Whereas the game on the weekend, it just looked like he was just get the occasional handball and do not much else outside of that.
Yeah.
And then, so Port Adelaide, I mean, they've got pretty much everyone back from memory, aside from their long-term injuries. Butters being back has actually definitely helped Rosie in the long run. It took them a couple games, but Rosie looks all right off that half back line. The problem is, I don't know if he's going to necessarily kick a goal or two each game, which has been definitely helping his SuperCoach hold up, because I think he had 7 or 8 clangers on the weekend. So I feel like him, much like Marek has had, if he doesn't get those, if the clangers start to mount, he can kind of just have this sort of 60 or 70 game. And I think he might not be scoring well enough until to warrant him staying in the side almost in a way until the DPP comes around, because he's going to get it in round 12. And if he can continue going 105, then that's probably valuable. But if he drops to sort of that 95 or so, it could almost be more valuable just getting him to a massive mid in that sort of before he turns into a defender, I would say, almost in a way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's definitely no reason why. I don't think anyone could be trading him out. That's for sure.
Not at the moment.
I don't think at all. I mean, you score a 137 and a 103 in the back line. I'm surprised they tagged him, and they tagged him for like a quarter. They couldn't tag him. He was still getting the pill. I mean, the goal helped in the first quarter, of course, but
how many kick-ins did he have? Because didn't he have kick-ins as well? It was kind of this crazy, like, Dawson-esque games of past where he has like 2 or 3 kick-ins and does other things as well, ends up with a goal, and 7 kick-ins for Farrell. Of course, 4 kick-ins still. I want to say half of them were off Blakey misses as well. From 45 out. That was infuriating as a Swans fan to watch.
I could have it. I don't know. I feel like Blakey's a good kick, but he can't kick when he's like going full pelt. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me, but
yeah. Richmond will be interesting because they're starting to get those ACL guys coming back. And Clark returning through the VFL, I'm pretty sure he's underpriced, discounted as well. Like, a lot of these guys are discounted from their other seasons. I remember, was Kipkus like 1 or 2 games into last year that he stuffed his ACL?
Yeah,
I want to say it was.
It was first game, I think.
153K still.
I started Zach Reid and Josh Kipkus on field last year in round 1.
Yeah, it was. What was it? Second game, I want to say, or did he? Oh, he would have played. You know what it was? He played. Was it round 0? Was it round 0 he played? And then everyone's like, oh, he's got round 0, 76 in his system. Oh, that's great. ACL first quarter of round 1. That was, yeah. So he'll be back.
He'll come good.
He scored 100 in like the 6 games that he's played or whatever so far in his career. He's actually played 19 games. So yeah, it just shows that 2022 where he went up 50K as a rookie defender, I think he's going to be a guy much like Zach Reed, and maybe even next year where he might start, Zach Reed, what was 119K or something? He might start out next year at like 150 or so K, or even just at this year, Gibcus. But he's a guy I think in the long run he's probably going to have a rookie point where you actually trade him in, whether it be this year or whether it be next year, depending on how they sort of handle him in the back half of this year. So he's one just to keep an eye on when they actually say he's going to return, I would say. And other than that, for Richmond, it's not really... Taj Houghton, I feel like, is going to be a guy I want to watch when he actually plays, just what I've heard from him. But
he's small forward.
I think that they just don't bother. He's a midfielder that can play small forward. So I think he'll be much similar to what Cleary's sort of done in a way, and that he plays this small forward role a little bit and waits for a little bit and then gets that fourth midfielder role and is that sort of classic forward classified player that as a midfielder and then just goes off. But I don't know if they even bother playing him this year. They just sort of give him managed time in the VFL and just sort of let him develop.
Yep.
Then we get to St Kilda, who Philippu's. Remember when we had Philippu in our starting sides all that long ago? He's finally almost back in the VFL.
Give it 3 or 4 weeks, and I might have Callum Mills, Mateus Philippu, Ned Long, Marich, Matt Flynn. Oh my god! I've no rookies on the bench on the field at least, but oh my god.
Yeah, Philippu could actually. I mean, it might take him time to get up and going, but that could be interesting, much like we've seen with FLYNN being like actually viable before they hit on their sort of bubble. Philippu could be interesting if he gets the role straight away, but I just don't know if they will give him the role. Hugh Boxall also, to see if he gets a game, 33 touches, 9 tackles, that could be interesting tomorrow night, because he's been a guy that was definitely talked up a lot, but their team just looks bad, good, and ugly in the same week almost in a way. They just, I don't know whether it's just the way that Ross sets them up, but they definitely can be a hard watch, I would say.
Yeah, keep an eye out for if you own Travalia as well. He had 26 and 2 goals, so he could be one that comes back in, considering the really poor performance.
Of half their side.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you haven't got rid of him yet, maybe it could be a bit of a hold. But I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be a long-term hold. They've sort of tried to bleed him in a little bit, and I feel like there's teams that we haven't hit the just play the kids yet, which is annoying. We're probably 4 or 5 weeks away from that. But it could be interesting when that happens, because you've got quite a lot of players that will just get games. And I think Toby will just get a lot of games this year. He'll probably play post-bye, you would think, till the end of the year. So he'll get a lot of games. It's just when does he get that consistency and hope he stays out of the sub-vest. Then we get to Sydney, and everyone wants Sydney players, and this is why I'm worried about Callum Mills. When a Sydney player gets to about 1 to 2 weeks or a test to play or gets into the VFL, they find a way to get re-injured. Like Tom Papley was carrying something in the start of the year and then got injured in the bye week. You had Callum Mills get re-injured when he was basically a test to play. Logan McDonald got through a VFL game only to get a stress fracture in his ankle. Errol's finally 7 to 9 weeks away. Robbie Fox had a setback in the bye week. Detoli won't play, I don't think, and he could be a really good guy next year, which will be annoying that we're talking already about next year, but I expect them to just not bother playing him. Cunningham had a setback. Riek Andrew not going to play. Amadi still weeks away, which could open up to potentially a Buller playing, but who's looked all right. But Sydney, there's not really anyone that I see coming through the VFL at the moment. There's not any youngsters like any. Sheldrick is cooked at the moment. And they've not really got anyone back.
VFL. Is he?
Yeah, he played on the weekend, I want to say, or did he travel with he played on the weekend and had, I want to say 26 touches at 50% disposal efficiency. It wasn't outstanding. It was actually some of the best players for Sydney on the weekend were actually their just VFL listed guys. It wasn't even the actual AFL listed guys that did well. So there's talk of potentially some of them going for mid-season draft, but I think they won't be relevant in the long run. And West Coast, Dom Sheed's season, they really don't have anything. It will be just dependent on that rookie midfield mix, who gets a game. I think Gross will get the full game this week. Clay Hall, I expect to potentially get sub, maybe, but I don't expect him to get full game. And Grego could be a potential debut for them. He's been a guy that's sort of been talked about a little bit, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do, because who knows with West Coast, honestly, given that Matt Flynn said that he's not even confirmed number one ruck or whatever, the chaos that Big J came on and said that.
I mean, how can you even lock in a spot in that team? Like, I reckon there's about 5 players or 6 players that you just can't move out of that team. And that would be like Baker, McGovern,
Marek, and some other.
Is it Tom Cole or Duggan that's playing really bad at the moment?
Duggan had like 14 touches for like a 30 SuperCoach or something, or was it? It was a really poor game. I want to say
he's just playing really poorly defensively out of those two. I can't remember who it is. But
Duggan's lost 75k this year. Far out. Yeah, Duggan's highest score for the year is an 84, and he's, I think, club captain or whatever. And he was playing midfield and half back. I want to say he might be playing on the wing some bits, but yeah, he's just not quality.
Honestly, I reckon Baker will be the captain next year. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Harley Reid leaves them, to be honest. They're that bad. They just have no way of...
Oscar Allen will leave.
Yeah. I mean, they could easily have 3 or 4 in the top 8 of the top 8 picks, which will be non-academy, like just every non-academy player in the top 10 they could grab, but which would be interesting. But I also feel like West Coast is not the side that they give consistent games to rookies. It's 1 or 2 games, but then someone else performs and they're out of the side. And so they're kind of one of the annoying ones to hold, like Geelong as well. They sort of chop and change so much. But yeah, I do think Hall, Gross and guys like that and Hewitt will get to that sort of 250k range. But when they finally hit that maximum, when their break even really catches up, you kind of just have to almost trade them straight away unless they're dropped. I feel like
the annoying thing is, like, I don't know, I reversed the trade on Gross and didn't get him out, didn't get him in. So I don't know if that was just too reactionary or not, because like I didn't know whether he was being managed or he was like being semi-dropped, or I didn't know what was going on. I was playing a round of golf and I just saw on my phone that he was sub, and I'm like, oh crap. And then you know how annoying it is to make trades on your phone. It's a pain in the ass, and I'm like trying to figure out all this stuff. I had to end up getting out Davidson in the end, which I'm not too happy about. Instead of using a boost to get Gross, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? I got, hopefully Clay Hall can come back in this week though. That'd be nice.
Yep. Yeah, as long as one of the 2 sort of West Coast rookie mids is playing, then it's sort of fine, I guess, in the long run. It just sucks that it isn't quick cash gen. It's just really slow and annoying. And instead of taking 4 weeks, it's going to probably take 6 or 7 for them to get up to a tradable price tag, I would say.
Yeah.
And then Western Bulldogs, did they really have Bont just resting? I swear he must have been playing some like country footy or something like that. Like he did not look like he missed a step. And I mean, for those that somehow still have Sanders, someone said he didn't have a CBA or something like that, and he still went 115 or something.
This is just another one of those. I started this guy, and oh my god,
his best game is with 0 CBAs as an inside mid. Make it make sense.
I think he was playing wing and half forward.
He must have just been jumping into the contest whenever the outside of the center bounce, and they had the big like midfielders in there for yeah. So it makes sense in the grand scheme of things that he's at least playing rather than in a vest or whatever. But it was kind of just surprising to see him on what was it, about 70 at halftime, and I was like, he's actually almost level with Bont. What is going on?
Yeah, it's just you don't trade out these 350 guys after like 2 weeks because they can just, I don't know, they have one spike game and like he hasn't had one week where he's been losing money.
Yeah, these type of, I always really, those 300, 350K to sort of that 510, almost Rosie level, it's like you feel like no matter what you do, you're always going to be on the wrong side of it, whether you trade or you hold. Like the only guy that I think I really got right in the long run was probably just the Callahan to sort of merit, I feel like. But it just feels like in the short term when one of those guys goes like, obviously Rosie went big. I was lucky enough that I ended up holding Horn Francis even, but Roberts, it looks like Sydney could be back to a chip, and I hope some people didn't trade him because he went 120. It looks like he could have a sort of a safe 105 role almost in the future if they can get back to actually being able to not kick down the line every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's, what are we, 9:05 or so? So nine almost 9:30. It's been a long day. I don't know about you, God, but it's been a long day.
What are your trades?
My trades at the moment, I think mine is just going to be the obvious, or at least obvious to me, Hall to FLYNN, I think, and just play FLYNN in the flex and then play Hewitt at F6. So that would get me down to FLYNN, Hewitt, Lindsay. It would be a toss-up between Moraes and Gross, but I hope Gross isn't sub. I'd have to probably dig deeper for that. But I'd be down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rookies plus FLYNN, I think. Or is it Ashcroft, 6 rookies plus FLYNN, which it still feels like I'm not even getting anywhere closer to finishing the side. I wonder if we really do struggle to get that 23rd premium like we were able to last year with all the guys that really gained cash, whereas this year it feels like there's not really, I mean, you had Davidson get up to 300K, but it's not really that big rookie that's just turning into a long-term keeper. I mean, Bice probably could be, but it doesn't, I don't know. The last couple of years, obviously, we've had Dacos, Ashcroft, and guys like that. So, yeah, I just don't know if there'll be that guy this year as much.
Yeah, I don't even think I reckon I only had 22. And I don't think I had a 23rd player, like a good 23rd player. I think I cooked it. Because I traded in McKercher out and in like 2 or 3 times. It was just the worst thing ever. So,
I think I ended up with like Elijah Hollands and Jai Simpkin playing out for 22nd and 23rd last year or something like that. And I was like, they're not even top 10 in their line. What am I doing here?
Yeah. I put my screen up if you want. I can show my trades.
Yeah, I'll see if this works.
This is first scoop. I haven't even made my trade video yet, so
do that there.
Yep. Should I zoom in a bit more, maybe?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. That should be easy.
Right,
I was surprised to see Zach Reed's 14 break even, to be honest. When he dropped that low score, I was like, he's actually a keeper still? Like, he's still got more cash gen? What's going on?
Ridiculous. So I'll undo the changes and show you what I've done. All right. So obviously I've got my fraud midfielders, my fraud defenders, and my whole team's a fraud. So I need to. Kieran Briggs has to go. He has to go because he's a potato head.
I angered some people talking about Kieran Briggs and being sort of a lot lower price or something in a Twitter post or whatever.
Oh my god! I mean, I picked him up for 470. Like Matt Flynn outscored him by 30 points in one game than what Briggs scored in 2 games. It's just a joke. So
Yeah.
Flynn's coming back as R2. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But he's only going to be an R2 for a week because I'm going to get Sherry next week.
Yeah, Cherry's definitely a guy that I've looked at. I feel like in the long run, his back half of I think we even talked about it in preseason, the sort of post-buy, he has a really good run or something.
Yeah, for sure. So he's gonna come in once next week, but I'm prioritizing the lower break even this week in Dacos. So how am I gonna get Dacos? How do I do it? I think I got Nevitt out. Because I don't even know if Nevitt's gonna get picked anymore, man. Like he keeps getting second chances. He's just not that good.
Yeah.
And was it who did I also trade? I can't remember. Oh, trainer. So and then I did Bice back up. Get Nicky D. And Carroll. I don't know if Carroll's playing, but
yeah, that's going to be a big watch, to be honest with you. I hope he does, just because I want cash gen, but I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, VC Ned Long, that will never happen again, even though he's very good and I'm very happy with the pick, but that will absolutely never happen again.
Yeah, I feel like I just left Ned Long way too long. I feel like I should have, what was it, about 260k maybe 3 weeks ago or something, but you wouldn't have picked it off a sub game for him to go big. So it was kind of like he was never in the position for me to, or at least with how I play SuperCoach, to grab him at that like 280k or whatever.
Yeah, I was really hot on him after round 1. Round 1 when he got like the 114. I was really hot on it. I was like, there's no way they put this guy sub again. And then they put him sub again. And then he comes out with that 4th quarter performance against Carlton where he kicks the goal as his first touch. And he's getting got a heap of contested ball. And then they're like, Craig McRae comes out and says he's not going to be sub next week. Then he has a blinder and has like 29 touches. Oh, he won't be sub for a while. Then he has this performance. And he didn't really say anything, but like he just can't be sub. There's just no way.
Yeah.
If he has form, I mean, and then I'm just doing VC Dacos into TDK. I think it's pretty straightforward.
That was my sort of VCC.
And I'm gonna, if Clay Hall doesn't play, I'm gonna loop with Lindsay and Hewitt.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Moreas play off the emergency and hope that Gross gets a full game because I expect him to. But that'll be the way that I get, or at least have an extra chance, I would say, at the rookie scores.
Yeah. No, but that's the team, man. I mean, it's pretty crap. Do you want to see what I scored? You guys haven't already. I mean, that's just.
I'm finally not last in the review group.
Yeah, what are you, 20k or something?
Like 20,200. But if I had VC Dacos, I would have been, I think, like 15,000. But of course, I didn't do that because
I think if I had a trade, if I did it, I was going to get rid of Roberts, so it was going to probably be bad either way. I was going to do Dacos and Long and Cleary to from Roberts. And who else? Who else was like, did I get rid of? I can't. And I think it was just 2 rookies. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it would have been good to know that Gross was sub like so much earlier because I would have been able to do those trades. But I mean, I'm kind of glad I didn't get rid of Roberts now.
Yeah, Roberts is. I mean, I saw some things on Twitter about like him having more handballs, and I was like, I don't care how he gets to a score. It just looked like he was getting enough of the ball to actually get a score. Whereas there was a couple weeks in there where he had 20 touches and 24, and I was like, that's pretty tough to get to a decent enough score with like 20 to 22 touches, where in the first week he had 26 in round 0 and he had 30 on the weekend. So if he can stay between that 25 and 30 touch for 3 or 4 weeks, I feel like he'll hit 500k or whatever, and then we reassess around the buys.
Yeah, and if that's a floor score, if those are 2 floor scores, like, we're laughing.
Yeah,
really.
You look at that in the even just the midfielders here with Merritt has a low score of an 89, and Sarong has low scores of a 99, but he's been lucky to get to that. But most of the time we talk about these top sort of players and having a floor score of like 80, and Roberts has done that. He did it back-to-back weeks, admittedly. But if he's going 115s in most weeks, more times than not, like he's gone 115 plus half the times. And we're thinking about trading him out.
If he keeps up the average he has now, he's a keeper.
Yeah. He'll be
you're not going to trade him out, really,
D67 area almost.
Yeah, but exactly. You're not going to trade a guy out that's averaging 101 for the whole year, are you? So
no.
I don't know. If you can do something like 100 to 105, that would be huge. Just sitting at like D6 for us, maybe D7 if we can afford to get an extra primo in that defense. But yeah, I mean, your team's looking pretty solid at the moment. You got all the.
I know. I feel like I have the opportunity to come back just because I've got all of the sort of bigger guys in the long run. Like we expect Sinclair, Whitfield, and Zorko to be, I would think, three of the maybe top 5 at worst, maybe top 4 defenders, and then Dacos, Merritt, and I mean Dawson's had a shocking year. But if he could kick a bloody ball through the goalpost, I think he's kicked 0 goals 6 the last 2 games. If he could just kick one of those goals a game, he probably, instead of averaging 103, is at an average of 110.
Yeah, true.
So, Dawson's one that I would look at if you in the next couple weeks, I think. I mean, he has 3 this week: Carlton, Port Adelaide, Collingwood, West Coast, Sydney. I swear no one has a good kind run of like West Coast, North Melbourne, Richmond in like 4 weeks or anything.
Oh, who's got Richmond, North, and Melbourne? Someone's got that.
It's probably, watch it be like a Sydney or something, and it's like, don't even know.
No, I think it's next
Sydney have Essendon, Carlton, Melbourne, Adelaide. Sydney actually don't have the worst fixture for rounds 9 to 13, but it is what it is there.
I honestly reckon Bice is a hold till.
Bice will be, I think. Just Carlton always seem to get the fixture run, but how have Carlton gotten West Coast and North Melbourne twice and then back-to-back weeks twice? How have they pulled that off?
Yeah, who knows?
I can't see anyone having a really kind fixture just quickly off the top.
Team. Who is it? It might be Melbourne. Who do Melbourne have?
Let's check Melbourne.
Oh yeah,
Melbourne have played Fremantle and then have Richmond and West Coast. Hawthorn haven't looked the greatest last couple of weeks. Brisbane, Sydney, St Kilda. Hawthorn, their matchup's not too bad. I don't think anyone has outstanding matchups other than like 2-game stretches or anything, which is a little bit annoying that you can't really jump on someone. But
yeah, right. I think it's Hawthorn.
Yeah, it could actually be Hawthorn. But Hawthorn don't have any relevant players, which is like the most annoying thing. You would jump on Will Day if it's...
They've got West Coast, Richmond, Melbourne in a 3-week stretch the next 3 weeks. So if you wanted to grab a Newcomb...
Yeah, Newcomb, that could be in... Newcomb could go 130, 130, 130 in those like straight, and then suddenly be, 600k or something?
Yeah, it could be. It could be a guy you could pick over a Dacos this week for people that don't have him. Like, there's a chance.
Yeah, he's like averaged 105 against West Coast the last three games and 125 against Richmond last 3. But yeah, he could get to 600k very, very easy if he just has 3 good weeks. I mean, it won't matter in the long run because you'd be keeping him at that price, but he's the type of player I feel like with Will Day out that needs to step up and be that 25 plus touches a game.
Yeah, for sure. I think we need to get my plan is I'm going to get Dacos this week, I'm going to get Sherry next week, and I'm going to get Sinclair the week after. Yeah,
Sinclair's going to go down massively, isn't he? Even if he goes like 130 or whatever, he still goes down 20k with a 130 game. That's quite ridiculous.
Yeah,
but he could jump.
I think I'll jump on. If he can get to like a 550, that'd be huge. Well, let's say
let me just see if I can work it out.
Oh, well, Josh Dacos.
If he goes 105. If he goes 105 by Carlton, he gets to 540k, which is only round 9. So that's definitely someone that you could target in that 530, 540k that he'll bounce back. He'll have a crazy 160 game against West Coast or something and reset his cash generation. And I mean, it won't matter at that point, but he's a guy that I expect to end up around that 590k, but you might have the opportunity to get him at 540.
Yeah. And then I just got to get that last spot. I got to get Whitfield, I think. I think Whitfield you have to get at some point. I mean, you already got him. You're on the ball. I'm
just trying to look at the defenders to see who's really top tier, because who I'm missing. Wanganeen Malira, but he's not. Wanganeen Malira is going to average well, but he doesn't feel like the type of guy that's going to take the game away from you like a Nick Dacos can with the 170s and stuff. It just always feels like Wanganeen Malira is going to give you that 110 score each and every week, whereas Sinclair, Whitfield, and these other guys can, it's almost better.
It's just as good. If you have other captain options, like it doesn't matter.
If you don't need them to be
averaging the same, they're going to get. If 2 players are averaging the same and one can have a ceiling score of like 150, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're still getting the same amount of points out of them unless you captain them, of course. But
yeah, the only thing that will help is if you can get it's drop your worst score. You do want a couple of sort of high, I would guess the word would be volatility players that have high ceilings and lowish floor games that you can at least, if one of them has a low game, you still get that big games. But yeah, Wanganeen Malira, I don't know. Maybe it's just because like, if you trade him in 1 week, you don't feel like you can get that sort of 150 score from him in a trade-in week. That maybe it makes it feel a little bit less. But as you said, a 112 average for the year. If he does that, he'll be a top 5 defender, and no one will really sort of almost look at him as much. Whereas you look at like the Zorkos and the Sinclairs and stuff that can go 150. So he's the sneaky guy that I've said every sort of. I wish I'd actually just started with him over a Sheasel, because not only would you have an extra 10 points, you'd have. I didn't start him, but I definitely was one guy that I always talked up about being like he could be just a top 6, top 8 as he's been the natural progression guy.
Well, yeah, you'd have an extra 120 points in your bloody team. So
an extra 120 points and an extra like 100k.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And then there's, do you start Zorko or?
I brought him in, I want to say, for his 130, and then he had a couple of bad games after that. he's
got him
had
at
2 or 3 bad
600.
games.
You're
Yeah,
at
I think so. 5.9. I brought him in for 5.95. Debated as well in that week to bring in Dale, which I'm actually almost glad that I brought in Zorko over Dale, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's just annoying that I brought him in that week as well. That we brought him at 600k, and then I've brought in a Dunkley 2 weeks ago and only got 80s from him for 600.
I brought I brought in, was it Whitfield the week that I thought about bringing in Dunkley, and it didn't matter much. But then this week it did. I think Whitfield went plus 60 on him or something, plus 50.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's plus 60. What do you get? 144, 145,
145 for Whitfield.
Yeah, you got 62 points. Nuts.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Whitfield. Whitfield's going to be top easy.
I think the teams that, I don't know what you think, but I think the teams that prioritize cash gen in the first 5 weeks of trading over top dogs are going to really start kicking home. They're really going to start racing home. So I don't know what you think, but I feel like I'm in a good position to start rising.
Yeah, I think teams that prioritized, I guess, getting in or staying away from the mid prices a lot are probably teams that will, in the long run, be a lot better. Like, I didn't go for Marek or Humphrey. I know I'm going for Flynn, which is quite almost counterintuitive to what I'm saying. But a lot of the, Fraser, remember that debate there as well. There's a lot of those sort of 300 to 400k guys that have been sort of talked about a little bit that people probably wasted trades on and then have already had to correct them almost at this point in the season, which I think has helped me to catch back up a little bit, as well as having, a lot of people still have Chera, who's doing outstandingly well, but I'd much rather a Dawson over a Chera at this point of the season, I think, just because Dawson has that massive high-end potential, the 170, 60 scores, whereas I don't think Chera does.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thinking, I actually don't mind, this might sound rogue, I don't mind Dunkley as a trade-in target this week, even though he's got 157 break-even.
What's his fixture like?
Well, he hasn't actually
He
hasn't historically scored that well against St Kilda, but Neil's going to get tagged. Yeah. I don't know.
He's going to go absolutely off against Gold Coast, and everyone's going to go, "Oh well, should have had him."
Yeah, I mean, if he can conjure up a 120 this week and then get, I don't know, a 130 the week after, that'd be massive.
He could be an interesting guy next week because he's going to be, and this is why I think about Petrarca. Everyone's going, "Oh, that would be amazing to have him," but we can honestly just put Levi Ashcroft at the. I can just put Levi Ashcroft and Elijah Hewitt in the F5 and F6 and don't have to worry about it. And I'd much rather pay another 40k to get Dunkley over getting a Petrarca at 480k or whatever if Dunkley drops a 105 next week.
Yeah, for sure. I think, now my team looks like Marich at F6 and Ashcroft at flex or whatever. I mean, I'll probably put Marich.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, because I think I mentioned it in my video that, I feel like people trading out of, I don't know how many people are trading out of Oliver, but I've heard a lot of people talking about Petrarca. If you just straight swap them, that's literally the most pointless exercise that I've seen because they're going within 3 points of each other. And one's a forward, one's a mid. I'd much rather just get the big midfielder in at this point of the year and then get the sort of the value forwards in. Yeah. I reckon he's another week or two, I think, for me. I think there's bigger. I think there's rookies definitely time to jump off. There's quite a lot to jump off of, but there's not much to go to. But yeah.
He's also got West Coast and Richmond the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, he'll probably put up 120, get to 480k, and then I'll be like, yep, you're done.
surely you can't trade him out after 2 120s.
Yeah, 120. I was just thinking that. It's like, how can you know to trade out a player after they go like a 115 or something like that, and you're like, yeah, you're not that valuable anymore. You almost instinctively just hold on for another week.
So if he goes,
I think
if he goes 120,
120 puts it 497.
And then if he gets a 92 the week after, he gets to 513.
So, yeah, I think he's finally hit a. Well, I say that, but he got up to 480k, so he's been up there before. But you feel like he finally gets that stretch of games where he can break past 500k and then be able to be easily upgraded, I would say, is the way I'd put it. Rather than this sort of 450k, you almost have to expend one of your best rookies to get him up. Whereas now, if he gets up to 500k, it's 1.8. It could almost be with Clay Hall at that point to get him up.
Yeah, I almost don't hate like just holding him till your last player has to be upgraded, and he's the guy that gets upgraded last. Like he's gonna average your 95. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has less. I don't know.
It would help if he stops having the just unnecessary clangers, like kicking a ball away for a 50 or whatever that I swear he's done like 3 or 4 times this year.
Oh yeah. the amount of deliberates he has. I reckon he's had like 4 or 5 deliberates this year. Stupid.
Oh yeah, some of the players this year that have had clangers. I don't know if you saw the Adelaide Adelaide GWS game? Like Tom, I think there was some guys, like 3 or 4 guys had 7 or 8 clangers in it. And I was like, you're all premium midfielders. How have you put up a decent enough score with that? Just absolute, that was a horrific game to watch.
I'll tell you what though, Viney played well on Sarong.
Oh yeah, I was watching the footage of that with Simo and how he sort of broke that down, and Freo just looked at all sorts, trying to just combat Max Gawn, just dominating Darcy.
I was getting so mad. I was getting so mad at that. I think you saw.
I was getting mad at Gawn just missing set shots. That could have the Gawn one. He only had 4 or 5 hit outs to advantage. That could have been such an easy 160 game if he hit his set shots or anything.
It's the second time this year he could have had a 160 game as well.
Yeah.
And he hasn't.
Yeah, and that's probably the good thing with Gawn is just he could just rack up hit outs to advantage so easily. And then the intercept marking that he does when he gets his 5+ marks, it's almost like a guaranteed 110 for him.
Yeah. I don't know who to get out of Sherry or Gawn. I think Sherry. I think Gawn will probably tire as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think Cherry, he's really struggled to actually just get enough of the footy in a couple of weeks. I swear he's had 10, 15 disposal games, whereas I don't know if the likes of Gawn's done that as much. And it also helps if Cherry's midfield could actually help him out because they just get smacked. But yeah, he had the Gold Coast game, he had 9 touches. And then also he's had a couple games of 4 free kicks against, which does not help as well.
He gets a lot of points from tackles as well.
Oh, yeah.
He
would have got 40 points last week. It was an ugly game. I was seeing people when people just look at the SuperCoach scoring and they go, well, he must have had a better game because he scored more. You look at that game and you go, Tristan Cherry must have had a better game than De Koning. But if you watch the game, you're like, De Koning just absolutely mauled him when it was actually a meaningful game.
Yeah. De Koning's frustrating. He'll look like he's playing a really good game. You'll look at his SuperCoach score and he's on an 80 at with 5 minutes left to go in the 4th. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think he's had, was it the last 2 or 3 games? He's on 5 at quarter time or near enough quarter time. You're like, oh, well, this is the game that just sucks. And then he just has just a 2 or 3 minute burst where he gets 3 or 4 hit outs to advantage and a clearance, and he's suddenly back up to 40. You're like, and he's back on to 100 then, on track for 100.
Yeah, It's ridiculous. Yeah, no, I don't think anyone can score quicker than him in the game. Like, not even Gorn, I don't think.
I think it's just the dominance that the Carlton midfield has a solid like 4 or 5 contested players that just allow him to just rack up hit-outs to advantage, alongside him being one of the best clearance ruckmen as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. Carlton might come back and be all right, you know.
I swear I was looking at something with Carlton, them being like, oh, they could easily get to. Let me see if I can bring up a Carlton player. I swear they've got Geelong this week. They'll probably lose that. They've got Adelaide at Adelaide. Oh, well, that will be tough. St Kilda, Sydney, GWS, Essendon, West Coast, North Melbourne. That's what 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 4 wins at least in their next until they've played 15 games or whatever. Or is that no? They'll play 14 games and another 4 or 5 wins. That puts them almost at evens at 7 and 7 or whatever.
You're saying,
and then they could win against Sydney or GWS, so they could easily beat 8 and 6 or something at round 15 after North Melbourne.
So they've had 2 wins. They're 2 and 4. They'll lose to Geelong.
2 and 4.
Lose to Adelaide.
Yeah,
and
but they'll probably beat St Kilda. They have a
Saints.
fair shot at beating Sydney, and I think they'll beat Essendon, West Coast, North Melbourne. So that's 4 or 5 wins there. And that puts them at 7, potentially 7 or 8 wins. 7. Something like that, 8, 7 or whatever. And that's right in the top 8 contention after a shocking start. So they're not out of it. And then
how do you get such an easy draw? Like, what?
I don't know. I'm waiting for Sydney's draw next year, where Sydney's just going to get bloody Richmond twice and West Coast twice because they finished bottom 5 from all the injuries.
Yeah, like you look at Collingwood's fixture, and it's like we play Adelaide twice, we play Melbourne twice, which isn't bad. We play Hawthorn twice, Brisbane twice, Carlton twice. It depends how good Carlton are this year, I guess. Is there anyone else?
I don't know who else you double up against. Yeah, but that's probably about it. But yeah, the sides that I think was it Adelaide that had a really tough fixture, even though they were not in the 8 or whatever. Something like, and then you get Carlton that's like gets a really easy enough fixture, and you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
but yeah, it is
ridiculous. Would you field Pryor or Reid this week?
Or something I've definitely been considering which way to go, because like Pryor's the type of guy, as everything freezes on me, but Pryor is the type of guy that I'm like, it feels like he has the better role for scoring in terms of him just being the sort of medium-ish defender, whereas Reid's the key defender. But Reid just outside of, I mean, they've both had really shocking games and then really good games. I'd have to look at the sort of Reid's had
think about it.
3 bad games.
Reid's going to be playing on Maya, Check, or McStay.
Reid's
he's going to have to play really accountable.
Yeah, and then Pryor's got a low of 50, whereas Reid's had 3 scores below 50, but then the 88 and the 104. And Pryor's had a 78 and a 92.
So you look at games where he's played on a good key forward. So you got Georgiades an 88, or would Mackay been playing on him? Does Reid take the second best?
You would think. I don't know exactly, but you would think so. I'm just.
So let's say. Oh, so they have no one apart from Georgiades in that forward line.
Yeah. The West Coast game, I think you can just disregard for the chaos that was injuries. At the point that he had a hit out to advantage at one point.
Adelaide, you got Phil Thorpe, Tex, and Fogarty. So I don't know how you meant to score well.
And then Hawthorn, who did they have that? Who did Hawthorn have that round? I want to say that they had let's go to team lineup for round 1. That was, you would have had Hawthorn in that week had Chol and what the heck is this lineup from them?
They don't have any key forwards.
Chol and then Sicily would have been their second key forward. He would have gone forward. You would have
realistically, he should have scored well, but that was the game where he got like smothered and everything, and he was like looked really slow.
Hawthorn were just actually good, and
yeah.
I want to say that I'd probably just filled Pryor because I feel like Essendon could just try and. I feel like Collingwood's going to get off to a really good start, and then Essendon's going to just try and possess the ball to stop it. And I feel like Pryor could just get they'll probably just try and switch it a whole lot, Essendon, and I feel like that's where Pryor really gets the good points that he scores in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are very, very similar, even though they play slightly different positions.
So, yeah, I don't know. Pryor's floor is higher.
Yeah, but Reed's ceiling is higher.
I guess you kind of want to bank that he's going to be your lowest score anyway.
Yeah. This is where I wish I had the DMP, I guess, almost in a way. I know that they both play for the same club, but you just wish you were able to sort of maneuver them around a little bit and just.
Would you pick up Carroll even if he's not playing? That's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'd do DMPs until almost post buys or whatever at that point.
Yeah, you'd have to pick up Tunstall if he's not playing.
Yeah. But yeah, does Brisbane play before Carlton? They actually do. That could be interesting if you almost get a look at Brisbane's score with the likes of Tunstall, and you see the good score with him, and then you just trade back out Carroll because you think that Tunstall will be back in. Will get the goods on the bubble next week.
I'm gonna have, I have to get a rookie in this week though to get Dacos and Flynn.
I think Carroll's the best bet, to be honest. Just
we'll find out. We'll see teams tomorrow whether he'll be on extended bench. That's pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah, they play the Sunday afternoon, so he gets the.
We won't find out till Friday night.
Oh, and of course, people are gonna get afraid because you've got Sydney. You'll have Patton on the extended bench. Carlton, you'll probably have Camporelli and also Carroll on the extended bench, and potentially Cowan. So you might have all three of those on the extended bench. And then West Coast, you'll probably have Hewitt on the extended bench, Gross on the extended bench, and potentially Hall. So they
can't not play Hewitt, surely.
Oh yeah, no, but he will probably be just on the bench as that extra midfielder or just the bench midfielder or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it will freak everyone out. So you're going to have like 6 or 7 rookies that are all going to be on the extended bench.
Oh my God.
At least it isn't Harry Boyd this week, which happens
honestly,
every single week.
Can Connor Stone just get dropped? I just want him to sit there in my team and rot away.
I know, he's just in my D8 spot, just slowly making no cash at all.
This has to be the slowest burn I've ever seen.
I know. Every clanger, you're just like, oh, does he just want to score a 40 and then just stop, I swear? 60, 40, 29, 39, 40. He's almost the most consistent player by just scoring 40s.
Yeah, but I don't know. When he played in the wet, when it was wet last week in that game, it almost looked like he was better. Like, I wasn't looking at the scores much. I was just watching the game, and he looked better in the wet. So I think we need to hope for more wet games, and he will pop out a good one.
Yeah. I feel like he'd be almost a better winger than he is actually at half back, to be honest with you.
Maybe.
because I was looking at the VFL just to see if there was any goal kickers. He's kicked 17 goals in 15 games last year he was probably playing half back, but he's probably better just shooting for goal than he is just booting the heck out of it downfield.
I think he was a winger previously.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was
the winger turned half
forward.
back, which happens. But yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. We somehow extended this out to...
Huh?
Yeah. Just looking at the time, it's already 10. It's only 10. Far out.
Bloody hell. What? I reckon if Carroll doesn't get picked, I'm gonna have to get rid of Max Hall, which I don't really want to do, because if he pops out another like 80 or something.
I'm just trying to think, is there any... Because I don't like to do sort of a player that's already played the third game, but I'm trying to think, is there someone like you could almost go like a Tom Cochran in a certain way. He's 118k, so he'd be your cheapest guy, but he just feels like he's going to be a sub sometime. Far out. Pal Pepper's probably killed me off getting in the top 10k, him just producing now. How does he still have a negative 14 break even?
I'd be tempted to pick Sardis if he's picked this week.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Probably too expensive now. I need to upgrade. I can't be getting these 200k rookies.
Yeah. Someone in the chat just put Erasmus Erasmus probably will play, but I'm just like, do I really want him if he's just going to get dropped in like 2 weeks' time or whatever, have like two price rises and then get dropped, and you're like, well, he's a 160k or whatever, 170k guy. It's not really valuable at all, is it?
No. I don't know. He's got scoring potential, so if he can get another 80,
yeah, I know he's taking the piss in the waffle.
How did he get dropped after getting an 80? What?
Let's just say he goes 60, which is roughly what he probably 60, 65 or something that he'll do on the long run average. He goes to 166, then goes to 209, and then 232. So he'd probably be out of the side by the 232. Given that they probably have, I don't know who they have injured, but they probably have the guys back fit. 233k, you can get him to someone, but you'd be worried about him being sub in one of these games or something like that, or just being dropped straight away. I just don't know if you can go there.
Even like looking at that, it makes me want to hold Trainer, because if Trainer can come back and just average like 70.
Yeah, I was going to say, Trainer, it takes 2 weeks for him to get it back. But once he gets it back, he gets to like 320 by like round 11 or 12.
With what average? 70?
I think 70 or so does it. Or gets close enough to it. 70 by round 12, he gets to 324k. But he cracks the 300k finally by round 10. So yeah, it takes him 3 weeks to get the cash gen back, but once he does get it, he gets it all the way realistically up to about 340k.
He probably scores an 80 against Melbourne as well.
Yeah, which would, if he goes 80 against Melbourne tomorrow night, I'm just going to be so almost semi-annoyed. But also at the same time, I'm like, it got me Dacos. I should be happy about that, like, in a way. Like, I traded Davidson and also Trainer to effectively Dacos.
And then,
yeah.
Let's say he goes like 75 against West Coast and North, a 70 against Hawthorn, another 75 against Essendon.
That's 330k by the end of the... 340.
330k.
Yeah. He'll definitely be a guy that I think some people will trade him out somewhere between 320 and 330 right before he could almost be, he's the type of guy that I feel like will be long enough in the game that you can upgrade him with a rookie straight to a underpriced, whether it be a forward or a defender, you could go him to a primo, sort of that F6 area.
No, I just have to get rid of him. Because you can't get rid of Pryor. You can't get rid of Reed.
Yeah.
Reed's probably next week. I mean, maybe not. Maybe there's some world where he gets like a 90 this week, and these Essendon bloody defenders just change scoring every week.
Yeah, they slowly make their way up, like almost in a way similar to the West Coast guys. They all just interchange themselves and they get themselves up to a decent enough. But yeah, if Reed goes 70 this week, he gets to 288k, and then he has a off week because he has that 38 in his system. But then he gets his break even back down to like 40 odd. And he'll be, even with 70s, he's about 20k ahead of Trainer or so.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Let's just put him at 75 and see how much that is. Yeah, still 25k ahead of Trainer.
You're probably getting rid of him though as well at a 64 break even week after.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be touch and it'd be touch and go. 80. Probably depend on what you could get him to at that point, I would say. Because if you can't get him to just trying to think of this, because I'll probably have potentially, it'll be either 40 or 100k or whatever. You could probably get him and you can't even get, you could get close to him and Moraes or something like that, or even him and Pryor if they both stink it up to someone good. So yeah, that could be interesting. You could go you know what you could do? You could probably go Reed and Moraes next week to Stewart if he comes good.
Oh, I'm not getting Stewart back. I can't do it.
I did put the if he comes good as like a precursor because he's been so up, down, and everywhere.
Well, even in that 118 he scored, you got to remember that was against Melbourne, and he still didn't look good. Like, I didn't think he looked good.
Like, if you take out the 9, he's averaging 93, 94. That's not even top of the line. And I know he was obviously not 100% fit against Hawthorn. He was more like 90, 95, but he just doesn't fill me with the confidence that someone like a Wangani Malira or someone that will score those good games. Whereas I don't think, and Stewart always has that massive injury in him anyway. So I'm like, I just don't know if he can do a top even 10 defender level from here on out.
Never again list.
Proper never again list. I'm just trying to think, what was he... Unless he gets that stupid role that he got in the back half of 2024 again, where he was playing in midfield and then pushing back, I don't think he'll be valuable. And I think they got Bailey Smith to take up that role anyway, so they don't need him in the midfield.
Yeah. Is it almost worth, instead of looking at a Sherry, looking at a Marshall in a couple of weeks?
Marshall? Is Marshall 5'10" or 450 or something? 460.
460. If he scores 100 this week,
I'm going to say something that's
437.
There's a good possibility that Marshall in 2 or 3 weeks' time is cheaper than Matt Flynn.
That's the best downgrade option you could ever do.
I was working out in my head being like, Marshall's 460 with a big break even, and I'm pretty sure Flynn in 3 weeks gets up to like 420 or something like that. So there's a good chance that he is below.
What are you saying? Flynn averages? What does Flynn average?
Just put a straight 100.
Let's do that.
And I'll put also a straight 100 or even 105 for Rowan Marshall. Marshall starts to gain cash. That sucks.
So what is Marshall
at
round 10?
Marshall's 469 at round 10.
Yeah, I don't think Flynn can catch him. Flynn will be at 444.
Yeah. So they're about a 30 or 40k difference by the time that Marshall fixes it. But if Marshall goes and has because he has Brisbane, that's a roughish matchup. If Marshall has one down game or Flynn has one good game, like Marshall, if he gets an 80, then by round 10 is only 455k and stuff. So he loses like another 20k or whatever. So
yeah,
that would be funny if they flipped.
He must still be carrying something though.
They were 340k to start the season apart. And Flynn also had a delayed start because he couldn't get picked. Oh man.
God.
That's always
so if Marshall goes 80 for 4 weeks, he gets the or if he gets in the next 2 weeks, he goes to 416.
Yeah. But then he has Carlton, who I'm pretty sure, even though TDK is scoring well, I'm pretty sure they concede a lot, Carlton, to rucks. I just want to double check that. And then he has West Coast, Gold Coast, and Melbourne up. Let's double check who the good ruckmen are, because let's just see the rucks for the next couple of weeks. Because Marshall, I want to see if he has a good run or not. Marshall has the pretty much, it's a little bit positive. But yeah.
Would you be happy if
That'd be interesting.
averages 90 till his bye?
Yep. I think that would be good. Essendon have of course, Essendon, the team with no bloody rucks, have the best run of rucks for the rest of the year. But North Melbourne,
Todd,
I'm just looking at here, have two red matchups and then only 2 other red matchups for the rest of the year. That's kind of crazy that his run just starts to just open up completely. That's from round 10 is going to be the time that you want the likes of Tristan Cherry, because he goes green, lighter green. That's actually crazy.
I don't want to pick him up before his bye.
Yeah, even after his bye, his next 5 weeks are crazy. He's got West Coast, Fremantle, Carlton, Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs. I don't know about the Fremantle dark green though. Yeah,
I think dark the more solid green is the best.
Yeah, I don't know if Freo is. I don't know when Darcy starts to get more games, and if they get Jackson back, whether that would be of dark green or whether that would be more neutral, because it feels naturally it seems like those two would be slightly restrictive. But I think it's just that Jackson's played a couple and Darcy's played a couple, etc. That's the case behind it. But yeah, his matchup just opens up completely. His only bad matchup is Melbourne in round 18 and Adelaide in round 22. And I want to just go back to see what he scored against those two teams, because watch him score well against those type of teams that have the lanky ruckman that he can just tackle. What did he go against Melbourne to start the year? He went 136 against Melbourne, and what did you do against Adelaide last year? He went against Adelaide a 103, and that was it. And then against Melbourne last year, a 111. So he still scores well against those two sides. I mean, 111 is basically his average. But yeah, I think the run that he has coming up is something that needs to be watched once he gets through the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, because you don't have him.
And Carlton's run gets worse. No, I don't have him as well as TDK's run gets really bad. I mean, I say that, but after his bye, has St Kilda, West Coast, Carlton, but his next couple of weeks, it's just a little bit rough. But yeah,
I mean,
I know that was highlighted in preseason. That run.
He'll dominate against Essendon. Wait, or I'm looking at the wrong fixture. My bad.
Yeah. What's he? Yeah. Who has
Geelong
decent runs for? Yeah. Of course, it's that, as you were saying earlier, I'm just looking quickly at the inside mids. The Hawthorn inside mids is just massive until the bye, basically. I think it's like +5 or something. As well as St Kilda. That's surprising. But yeah, those are the two, I would say. I mean, those are the rucks and the inside mids are the two matchup-based ones that you sort of look at the most, I would say. And North Melbourne post-bye as well as Hawthorn at the moment are the two teams that I'd sort of be looking at in terms of Cherry and Newcomb for matchup-based trade-ins rather than not break even or bottom out, I would say is probably the way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right, mate. Well, I better bloody go. I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired as. But
yeah.
Good luck for the week, mate. I'm sure we'll be in touch. Thank you for having me on.
Yep.
And
welcome.
Yeah, hopefully, we can both rise ranks this week. Let's both get into the top 10K this week.
Yeah. Top 10K, massive rise. We'll show up. We'll show up on Monday, and there'll be only about 5,000 ranks in front of us, and we'll be like, "The game's on, lads."
It'll be more likely if you pick up Ned Long as well. I heard.
Ned Long and Matt Flynn will get me to the promised land.
Ned Long, Anzac Day medal incoming. All right. See ya.
Anyway. See ya. Anyway, I think that's about time. We've somehow stretched this out to 2 and a bit hours. I know that there was quite a lot of you that watched along, so for most of the time. But anyway, I'm just going to quickly run through the last couple of questions, even though these were from a little while ago. So you had Josh, Stupid But, Ashcroft is my only avenue to Josh, to Dacos. I know it's one bad game, but he's not a keeper, and I think that's what he'll be for the rest of your thoughts. I think Ashcroft will be a 95, 100, 105 guy. I think there's just too many. I know that they did well, and this is something to do with statistics being it's a small sample size, but I think that in the long run, the 4 midfielders is just unsustainable for them all being up there. And I think Will Ashcroft, just due to his age in a certain degree and his experience, is the guy that gets dropped off a little bit. So I think that and then you probably, McCluggage has done well, but I think he's going to come back down a little bit. He scored, what did he score on the weekend? He scored an 80 on the weekend, so he's already back down at 120. So I think you're going to find that Neil and Dunkley are going to be near enough that top 10 to 12. And then you're going to have McCluggage and Ashcroft near that sort of 25 to 30 range, I want to say, just off the top of my head. Trades this week, as I would have said, is definitely Matt Flynn, unless something happens with team sheets, and then potentially Carroll, depending on team sheets. And it would be for Hall and Moraes, I want to say. Potentially. I need to just double check that. What are your thoughts on Charlie Spargo? I pretty much answered that already. I don't think he's a guy that's going to get enough cash gen quick enough. Erasmus, yep, we talked about him. If you had to get rid of Neil or Dale, who would you do? Dale. He's just not getting enough of the ball to be relevant, whereas Neil gets a lot of the ball. So Dale is so dependent on his disposal efficiency. It's not even funny. All those key moments. Like, he's probably had an extra 60 or so points just because of key moments in the last quarter in close games that have pushed his average up, like a spoil into an intercept into a goal assist. Got him like 30 points in one of the games. And I think he also kicked a late goal as well in one of the games to get him another 30 odd points. I am trading Humpty Davidson trainer to Erasmus, Carroll, Flynn, Dacos. Erasmus/Carroll, Flynn, Dacos. Yeah, I would do probably Carroll over Erasmus, but that sounds like a really good set of trades. You get cash generation and you get the top liner in Dacos. Even though he is 608k, he still is a guy that has just a mad run coming up. Going Gorn VC averages 145.7 in the last 10 games against Richmond. Absurd numbers. You're actually not wrong. That could be an interesting one. I just don't want to miss out on the Dacos VC. That'll be a tough one to see how the crowd's going. I might go with the crowd on that one rather than going with Gorn. But yeah, that's interesting. Then I'd have to create a... Yeah, I'll see. Gorn probably does go nuts, but yeah, I'll probably stick safe with Dacos, I think, just because I want a safety type of guy. But yeah, could be an interesting one to look at the bigger numbers with him tomorrow, and I'll go through that as well, I think. Merit VC over Dacos could be scary. Yeah, that could be. Let's look at the top 10% here quickly before we end out this stream here. Coach's choice. we go VC, Dacos and Gorn, huge VCs. Dacos is obviously going to be top VC you would expect for the round. If I go and adjust this to top 5%, does this sort of change out a little bit, or is it still defaulting the 40 and the 10? 44%, 13%. Merit's only 4%. I would, in such a big matchup, I would be going with, how do I phrase this? Because they're playing the same matchup, I wouldn't go Merit over Dacos, because you're still not enabling yourself to get the potential of a Dacos VC. Whereas if you are to tell me, yeah, you go, I would much rather go Gorn VC, even if they were the exact same numbers, just because it still enables me to get to the likes of the Nick Dacos captaincy or his potential double up score. But anyway, having said all that, I hope you guys enjoyed having both Big J and also God on the screen on the stream today. I hope you guys enjoyed the 2 hour and 10-minute live stream. We went long. I was looking at Rookie Coach and his like 2 hour 41s, and I was thinking, I'd never get to there. But me and God just started talking, and then suddenly you get up to that 2 hour or so. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you back for tomorrow's videos, where you'll have 4 videos tomorrow, which will be a long recording session, but you'll have 4 videos of me just going through and catching up all of the videos due to the Easter Monday extra day that we had there, where I couldn't record some other videos. So I fell behind a little bit. But anyway, I'll see you guys in that set of videos tomorrow. Bye, guys.